Hello, everybody. You're listening to Sam J Has Questions. I am your host, Sam J. Thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your day to listen. My guest today is a stand-up comedian. His name is Chris Estrada, and we had a great little talk. I've known Chris for a while through stand-up in LA. We go over his origin story as a stand-up comedian, the types of rooms that he started in, and go through some of his jokes. Chris has performed on Comedy Central. He has recently, he came back from a weekend performing at the DC Draft House. So definitely take a look at his social media. He's really funny on Twitter. This is going to be a fun episode. I really enjoyed talking with him. And without further ado, enjoy the episode. Okay. Hello.
Hey,
We're starting this how we start.
Okay, cool. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, just a random hello.
This is a random hello. This is Sam J Has Questions. My guest today is Mr. Chris Estrada.
How you guys doing? How's everyone doing?
They're doing great out there.
Yeah,
of course they are. They're listening.
They're listening. They're in their cars. They're at their computers.
Yeah.
They're listening.
So listen up. This is Chris Estrada. He's got something to say. Chris is a stand-up comedian. A writer. You've written screenplays. I feel like you have some of the best writing in the game right now. If I might say so.
Oh, thanks, man. You're wrong, but thank you. It's just probably because I wanted to be a writer before I wanted to be a stand-up.
Okay.
So I wanted to write TV. I think we when we first sort of met, we kind of talked about I think we talked about writing TV scripts and stuff like that.
Okay, so that was more of
that
what
was
your eye on the prize, so to speak.
Yeah, before I started stand up, I wanted to write for TV, and but actually I wanted to do stand up. I was just scared to do stand up, and I wanted to be involved in comedy in somehow, some way. So, but I was just kind of scared of doing stand up, so I just thought I'll just write for TV, and then I just wrote a few spec scripts and a pilot, but I never got a job or anything.
Okay.
And somebody was like, "Oh, you should just do stand up because if you're good in a room, if you know story and then you know how to write jokes, you might be valuable in a room or whatever."
Sure.
So yeah. But then I started stand up and I got so obsessed with not sucking as much.
Yeah.
Not
being bad.
Yeah, not being bad that I just that I was doing it so much that kind of writing took it was in the background.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know what makes a good stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
We can, the greats are out there. What makes a bad stand-up comedian?
Oh, you know what's so funny? Somebody who I think when people are unself-aware.
Okay.
I think when people are unself-aware, when they don't kind of see what's inherently funny about them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll see people do really observational stuff and there's something very noticeable about them. Or, I don't know. There's just people who I think are unself-aware. Also probably, I think people who don't know their strong skills. Sometimes I'll see people go up and they don't really write material. They just try to figure it out on stage. And they've been doing that for a while and it doesn't really work for them. And they go, "Oh, it's just I'm not a writer." And it's yeah, but you're also not a good stand-up improviser. Somebody who comes up with stuff on the fly. So it's not that you're not a writer. Just sit down and write. Don't be lazy,
Yeah.
Or don't think about it like it's going to take all night. Just do it for 30 minutes. Because sometimes you see people who go on stage and try to write on stage. And there's people who are really brilliant at it, really good at it. But sometimes there's people that's not, and they keep continually doing it.
Yeah.
So I think that might, or there's people who maybe overwrite too much and maybe they're better, they're funnier in a more organic way.
Yeah, instead of overwritten. So were you already self-aware before you even started stand-up? Do you think it's something that people generally just have to have as their own personality or something in them?
I don't know. I think it's like one of those things where like people have to like. I mean, I don't know. At least for me, like, I just knew I had to write jokes before I went on stage, because the way I'm funny organically is after I know someone for a while.
Okay.
You know, but I know I can write jokes. You know, and then I just thought, and then if I get comfortable on stage, I know I can be funny. You know, and but me personally, I don't think I'm. I mean, every now and then it still happens to me where I get lazy and I go, I don't feel like right now. Just go figure it out on stage or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't, and it never really
Yeah.
it never really works out for me. You know,
Yeah.
like I feel like I always need a game plan. Like just kind of like know where to go in the joke. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like, even if it's not fully written out, like I at least need like steps as to like what I'm gonna beat with the joke or whatever. But that's helpful for me because, yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, sometimes it's something that happens to me even now. Like sometimes I'll get lazy and I'll just go, maybe I can do that now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get up there and I can't really do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting. Yeah, I have to go, I have to go right.
So what does it look like before you take it on stage, a joke? Like you have it pretty much the entire thing flushed out, so to speak, or
Yeah,
more
for
or
the
less?
more or less,
Yeah.
yeah, flushed out, and then I just go, oh, and then I record it, and then like I tape my set at like a show or an open mic, and then I'll listen to it maybe that night
Okay.
or the following night, and then I'll see what worked,
Yeah.
and I'll listen to it. I go, oh, that sounds bad, or let me change that or whatever. Yeah.
What was I guess I watched a set that you had on YouTube from was it from the Virgil? Was it Hot Tub that
Oh,
you
yeah.
did?
Mhm.
And then your Comedy Central clip.
Oh yeah.
And I had seen you do those jokes in person as well.
Mhm.
But what I caught on the Comedy Central clip that I didn't see when you said those jokes live is that there's a little dash of anger,
Oh yeah. I
a
think
little
so.
bit of anger in your jokes.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but it's like
Yeah.
for some reason I was able to like catch
Yeah.
a little bit of that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think so. I think somebody.
Has anyone ever said that
Yeah,
before?
yeah. Sometimes some people have told me that it's like, oh, it's funny because you're frustrated on stage.
I get frustration. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a better.
Yeah.
that's
But
a-
I know what you mean. Yeah, they're like, you're kind of frustrated.
So
And-
is that involved in the writing process as far as like
Yeah.
when you sit down, you're like, God, what really got me today? Or, this is bothering people. Maybe I can.
Well, I think
Crap.
also sometimes like some of my favorite jokes are jokes that I like. I mean, I'm pretty critical of myself, but like some of my favorite jokes are like jokes where I make something funny that makes me frustrated, or I make the wrong thing funny.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just go, oh, that's I like that. Like I don't know that I always do it well,
Uh-huh.
or I don't think I do every
It's like
joke that way.
Not on purpose, or it's not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I don't know that I do it well, or that every joke I do is that way. But there is certain jokes that I think I do that,
Mhm.
and I like those jokes
Yeah.
a lot. Like in that Comedy Central clip, I do a joke about open relationships,
Yeah.
and I talk shit about open relationships, but then I also end up talking about how like I'm old school and I couldn't do an open relationship. The way I would do things is by cheating on someone. and then people laugh at that, and that makes me like, I go, oh, I like that because I'm making cheating funny.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
making cheating seem the right thing.
The right thing to do. Yeah. As opposed to open relationships, But then also I'm not like I talk shit about open relationships, but then I also point out that like,
You couldn't do it.
well, that when I cheat, I end up alone anyways.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that like, it almost be like they're both stupid. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
It's not like one's better than the other. You're
Yeah,
just
it's
bringing it.
well, yeah, I think so. I just don't think you can come out on top saying that you're a cheater.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do a joke about cheating, you probably lose in the joke. Because you kind of lose in life anyways when you cheat.
I have one
Yeah.
exception to
Oh,
that
yeah.
statement.
Oh, what's that? What is
And
it?
it was from David Letterman
Oh, yeah.
when he was blackmailed by
Oh,
a member of
yeah.
the staff for sleeping with his assistants. And he came out.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And it was like a 10-minute thing at his desk
Yeah.
where he said, I've done terrible things. Someone's
Yeah.
going to share those terrible things. And then he just acknowledged it.
Yeah.
And that might be the only case where I've ever seen someone come out.
But even then he lost because he had to do that.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, but the thing is, I'm not saying that I don't care about cheating. I'm just like what I'm saying is I'm not I'm not on my high horse like, oh, cheating is awful and you're a bad person if you cheat. People cheat for different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, so like people cheat on each other. Like I'm not anybody. Like if I found when people judge people on cheating, I go, oh, I don't know. Is that a good person? They're probably a good person. I don't know. People cheat for different reasons. Sometimes people cheat for, good reasons. They're unhappy. The other person's unhappy.
Yeah.
They're looking for something else. And then sometimes people cheat on loving partners that they just want to get like ass on the side, But I will say this. I think he came out as a gangster because he was like, oh, I'm not going to let you fucking blackmail me.
I think that was the piece of it.
Yeah. But I still think you lose because that's not something you wanted to let people know about anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I mean, I think in jokes like that, I like those kind of jokes because I make cheating funny. Mm-hmm. People laugh like when I talk about I couldn't do open relationship. I'm old school. And people think I'm going to talk about monogamy, but I end up talking about cheating.
Cheating as being old school. And
as being old school,
like a tradition.
Yeah, as opposed to having a conversation about how we both don't believe in monogamy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like those kind of jokes. And then what do I have? I think I have another joke. Like that, like where you talk about how like I'm not like a physical fighter. I'm an emotional fighter.
Right.
And I kind of joke about how like the way I win is by losing. I lose the fight, but I say something fucked up to you at the end, which like you'll remember, but I'll move on. Like broken noses heal, but like a hurt ego is gonna be around.
You're gonna think about that for
a while.
And you attribute that to your TS.
Oh yeah, attribute that. I just attribute that to women. Like I just been in enough relationships where they've said something fucked up.
Yeah.
That I still think about sometimes. And it's like, geez, why'd they fucking say that?
Why'd they say that?
Yeah.
What about it? How long were they holding on to that?
Yeah. How long were
question.
they? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, stuff like that.
What I really liked about I think you had a lot of jokes in your Comedy Central. How long? It was how long was the set?
7 minutes.
I mean, you fit a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah,
like a lot. Like you're in the workplace.
Yeah, that workplace
jokes.
Joke,
like
yeah.
And since doing that, has your workplace, like your coworkers, changed, or do they still not know? Because you mentioned that you like don't tell them that you're a comedian.
That some of them know. Not all of them. Sometimes they'll tell me like, "Oh, I heard you're a comic," and I'm like, "Yeah, you could watch this clip or whatever."
Yeah.
And I just be like, "Just don't tell people." And then I go because it gets uncomfortable. Also, just because if I get days off, like I mean, I'm a temp there anyways at this warehouse, but like sometimes people might be. I don't want people to be like, "This dude is gone." Like this job is my full-time thing, and this guy's getting days off to go do stand-up.
Oh, I got
you. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't want anybody to like get annoyed by me missing days when maybe they don't miss days or they don't get the days that they asked for. But that's only because I'm a temp.
Gotcha.
I'm not like a permanent hire. But yeah, with that joke, yeah, people laughed at, like all my coworkers laughed at it or what, because that's how I joke around at work.
Yeah.
Like it's it's all inside baseball.
Mm-hmm. There's already that context that you don't have to set up.
Yeah, there's that context,
and it's just you're just like shooting free throws.
Yeah, and they think it's funny, but it wouldn't work anywhere else. It would not work anywhere else. It was just like Yeah,
I like that line. Like that you should do the joke about wearing the sweater.
yeah. Well, that's what I always joke around. Like sometimes I'll see my coworkers and and then I'll go up to them and I'll tell them like, hey man, do me a favor, go take your lunch right now. Like, I mean, I'm a temp. They're like higher ups than me,
Yeah.
and they laugh at that, you know. And they've told me, like the ones that do know I'm a comedian, they go, you should. Do you ever do that on stage? I go, no, you'd have to be there. Like they would have to come here and see us. Like they don't know, you know. It's not funny. It's
You'd
only
have
funny.
to set up that like all of my coworkers here are here in this audience
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So the next 5 minutes is just gonna be jokes that they'll laugh at.
Yeah.
Everyone take a break.
Yeah.
Go take your lunch.
Oh, yeah. It's like, you know, I would have to set up the context that it's funny because they're above me and I'm telling them to take their lunch, you know? Or sometimes I joke around with them and I tell them that, like, I go up to one of them or I go up to different people at my job and I go, hey, don't tell anyone, but I'm actually with undercover boss. And then I go, don't look around, the camera's like, I just fuck around like that. But, you know, I mean, I just love joking around like that at work. You know? It just wouldn't work on stage, but
I know there's an element of like how like even my last job, like how much people bust balls.
Oh yeah, people
and
bust
just
balls
like
all the time.
especially with like everyone's on like an office like message thing.
Yeah.
So like the bits and like the memes that come in there and like we shouldn't be saying this in our work chat. Like we weren't allowed to have like personal chats that like there was a video team chat and then within the video team chat we had our own separate chat that we would be like, hey, someone said something in the main one, like who's gonna respond?
Yeah.
They didn't like that there was like a separate channel.
Oh yeah.
So like if they found out what we were doing, like we would be making fun of people in there and like it's
you make fun of people.
I would say most of our job was making fun of people.
Yeah, I mean that's how more like, you know, most jobs like you kind of want it to not be a fucking pain in the ass, you know. I mean, or like most jobs like it kind of sucks, so you just make the most of it, and it's having like bad work humor. Yeah, it's what gets you through. You know?
For sure.
Or you could just bust balls. You bust balls all the time, you know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. There's something so specific to that everyone can relate to. Like, oh, that's the funny guy in the office. And as a comic, you know, we're writing material and we're trying to get up places and we're trying to be funny. So when this guy comes in and he's like destroying with the crowd, you're like, that's not even that funny, man. Like
I know. But that's what I kind of like about like a warehouse or like kind of blue collar jobs as opposed to like an office job. Is that blue collar jobs, people are a little more like they're more crude. Yeah. You know, like at my warehouse, like the warehouse I work at, people are more crude. They say more fucked up shit.
It's not PC.
Yeah, it's not PC. It's not funny. Sometimes at like an office, you have to be a little more chill.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a bunch at the warehouse I work at. It's a bunch of like roughneck men and women, and you know they fuck around a lot. Yeah. They bust a lot of balls. So it's pretty funny. I mean, I like it, but it just makes me laugh because sometimes it only works in the context of the warehouse. You know. Right. Yeah.
Do you have people that you bounce your material off of? Like, is there someone you go to before Absolutely. You even like take it on stage?
Oh yeah, there's a really funny comic. His name's Ramzi Badawi. It's really funny. He's a comic here in LA. He's like one of the funniest comics I know. So, and he's a really good like joke writer. Okay. So there's a bunch of comics. Like there's another comic, really funny guy. He like writes for a lot of TV shows. His name's Opie. His full name's like Opie Yemi Olabaju. Really funny guy based here in LA. And it's people like Brad Silnitzer or Ben Branfin or like Paige Weldon or Katie French. These are all comedians that sometimes like I'll run like if I'm with them, I'll be like, hey, do you think this premise is funny? Okay. Or, yeah. So I especially kind of do that especially with Ramzi Badawi. We'll message each other a lot on Facebook. Okay. And we'll be like, hey, do you think this is funny? Or does this make sense to you? Yeah. And then it's helpful because then sometimes I'll message him and ask him, hey, do you think this is funny? And he goes, oh, that's really funny. Have you thought about it this way? Oh, gotcha. Or that is really funny. Hey, here's a tag for that. Gotcha. So yeah, cool. There's people like that. Or sometimes, even at like, like when you're at a show or an open mic and you see another comedian and you like one of their jokes, sometimes you think of a tag for them.
Yeah, of course.
And like, yeah, like sometimes comics will give me tags, or I'll give a comic a tag or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, if I know them, if I'm comfortable, because some people don't want to take,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like if they don't want it, that's fine. Like, but if I know someone and they're like into that kind of stuff, I'll be like, hey, here's the tag. I- If you think it's funny, use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I like to ask people is like, especially people who write a lot, is do you have any sort of things you do when, let's say, you wake up and you're like, man, I don't feel like writing, or I feel like creatively tapped out. Maybe you had a bunch of shows, or you traveled, or you
Yeah.
worked a bunch. Is there something that you like to do that kind of resets a little bit of your like mental energies?
Yeah, I probably will watch a movie. I'll watch something maybe creative that'll get me excited about writing,
Okay.
like or comedy or whatever. Whether it's a movie or a stand-up special or like like sit down and watch a TV show, reading a book. Reading a book's always probably good because then it just like seeing words put together is good because then I know it'll get me excited about sitting down
Okay.
and putting words together. So that helps. Or even sometimes just easily as like taking a walk.
Okay.
Like sometimes I'll go out for a walk and a run, and in my head I'm like thinking about jokes, or I'm thinking about like that's fun. Or even if I can't think of any new ideas for jokes, I'll look back at old jokes and I'll be like, is there anything I can put in here?
Mm.
Like I used to do this joke about how my friend, he's in a relationship and he really like loves his girlfriend a lot, and he's always talking about it. And I asked him how he knows he loves her, and he told me because he can imagine himself spending a lot of time with her. And I just go, and I in the joke I say I don't think that's that romantic, And then I joke about how like I know I love a woman. I think I'm more romantic than that because I know I love a woman the moment I start fantasizing about getting shot in front of her, and then dying in her arms, and then her spending the rest of her life in deep sadness missing me. Well, that I used to do, and that's a whole bit that I do. But what happened was, I recently went back to that joke because sometimes that joke, as of lately, it was people would get weird, and I realized people would get weird because the idea of dying in front of a loved one because of mass shootings
Oh, okay.
was happening. Like if it was starting to feel like
Especially getting shot. Yeah.
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Specific in the joke.
That idea of like, because of mass shootings being so like prevalent in the news and we're constantly hearing about them, or
Yeah.
and they're happening. They seem to be happening a lot more. They that idea, that notion of saying that was getting rough. Like people would sometimes get weird, and then I went, damn, how can I really like that joke. How can I like address that without like? So then I just went back and I thought about different ways about kind of addressing it to make sure it's not that, and it worked. And then I just kind of thought about like, oh, in the joke I follow that up by saying, and I'm not talking about dying in a mass shooting. I'm talking about those shootings that we all miss and love.
Okay.
Remember, and then I say, those old shootings that we all wish we could go back to, like assault and robbery, like, assault with a deadly weapon, drive-bys, Latino men shooting in the air for New Year's, like, so
Yeah.
so when I said that, it's cool because it takes the sting out of like mass shootings.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I address that, like, I know that's what you guys are thinking about. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it helps. Like sometimes I go back at old jokes, and because sometimes I feel bad, like I go, oh, these old jokes suck, and then if I look at them, I go, man, is there a way for them not to suck?
What is your organization of everything? Is it just, do you use your notes on your phone? That's where all your old like set lists
No.
are, or you just have just like
A
stacks of
notebook.
notebook?
Yeah, I have a few
Okay.
notebooks. I'll go through a notebook, and then I write a lot of set lists on random paper. Like
Okay.
I keep index cards with me,
Yeah.
so I just write set lists. So sometimes I have to sometimes I just throw a bunch of set lists away because it doesn't.
There's no context to it, or you don't.
Yeah, they're just added up paper, and I also record sets.
Oh, okay.
So then I'll just go back and listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you started in LA, stand-up?
Yeah, started here in LA.
And where was your first time on stage?
Oh, my first time on stage, I think, was at the J Spot in Inglewood.
Okay.
Well, it's not in Inglewood. It's in Westchester, but it's like right next to
Right next to
Inglewood.
it.
Yeah, it was. That was my first spot. Yeah, it. I didn't really know where to go, so I didn't know about the Comedy Bureau, which is a website that is run here in LA by this guy named Jake Kroger. It's like everybody uses it to go find what open mics and shows to go to. It's like the premier LA comedy website, and I didn't know about that website, so I just knew, but I knew about like Black and Latino rooms in like South LA or East LA where like people did comedy. So I would just go to those rooms. So I think my first like maybe 6 months of comedy were going to like Black or Latino like open mics.
Cool.
So the J Spot is this.
Yeah,
like,
I've never been there. What's it like?
Oh, it's a Black comedy club, you know. So it's mostly like Black comedy acts, you know. And so yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was mostly the audience was like 99% Black, you know. It was cool. I mean, it was easy. It wasn't easy. I mean, they were pretty critical, you know, but they're also not people that give you pity laughs, you know, like in those rooms.
Yeah.
So, but I also like, I didn't bomb, but I would just do okay. It was a little easy because I could do colloquial humor about like the area, the surrounding areas, and they would laugh at that, you know. So that was probably pretty helpful. It like helped me kept going, you know.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably colloquial and it wouldn't work or outside of the area or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I was going to like Latino rooms in like East LA that I heard about, and those were good. I mean, they were like rough rooms though, like rowdy. Like kind of, I remember one time I used to go to this room in Leimert Park in like South Central. It's called Maverick Flats, and it's like an old jazz club, but they would do comedy there. And they used to have a tap out night where if you would go up, you had like they could tap the table at any point of your. It's like almost like the Apollo.
Yeah.
At any point they could tap and you were off stage. So I went there for like 2 or 3 months, and then I remember getting up to like 4 minutes and feeling pretty good about that. And then and then one night this dude got up. I went up, and I was thinking, oh, I just hit 4 minutes last week. I bet you I can hit 4 minutes again, or I'm getting like good at this. Remember this young dude in the back, like this young Black dude in the back got up and like started making fun of me. He was a heckler. He just called me La Bamba. And then like the whole crowd started laughing, and then they started screaming, like yelling La Bamba. And then I remember me thinking I could still get him back. And then the host came up to me and he was like, my man, it's over. You know, just come back next week. So
was that guy there? Did you come back next week?
I waited like a few weeks. I waited a few weeks.
All right.
And then I ended up going back. And then there was one time there used to be this room in East LA. It was like really rough part of East LA called Lito's Cork Room. I remember going there. I was like maybe 2 months into comedy, and I was taking a little too long on the joke. And I remember this really buff ass like cholo, like Mexican gangster guy with a bunch of his friends. He just got up and he goes, hey, I didn't come here to hear your fucking life story.
Oh, Jesus.
And then he was just like, be funny before I beat your ass. And then, I mean, he was kind of joking when he said that. Yeah. He was like laughing, but you know, you don't want to test him.
Yeah. I mean, how far into comedy are you? You're like
2 months maybe, like, and I was just like, I just like laughed and then got in my mind, I was like, edit.
Oh, like, where's this punchline at?
Yeah. I was just like brevity, you know.
You're like, and that guy is my manager now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We like joke around that, like, I was telling a friend about it, and we were joking that like it would have been funny if he came up after me, like up to me afterwards and said, listen, man, I hope you didn't take that the wrong way. I'm just a big fan of comics like Stephen Wright.
I like wordplay, real short jokes. Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah, Mitch Hedberg. You know, I'm just a firm believer that brevity is the soul of wit.
Yeah. Word economy, my man.
Yeah, word economy. Like, it just comes up to me like, hey, Holmes, hey, check it out, big dog. I'm all about word economy. Yeah, so
he's got a tattoo on him.
Yeah, I mean, so that was pretty helpful because it just taught me like, oh, get to a joke pretty quick or whatever.
So I mean, it must have been a cakewalk going to do like alt mics then.
A little bit.
I mean,
yeah.
like compared to
Well,
that, like
the difference is that like those those people like in out rooms, they let you they let you they let you know that you're not funny with with silent pomposity.
yeah,
Where they'll just be like, where they kind of roll their eyes or whatever.
yeah,
But my taste and what I like skewed alternative a little bit. I
Okay.
mean, not completely, but I like some alternative comics a lot, and I like absurdity and weird, like surreal stuff, or So it wasn't too hard. Well, it was interesting because when I was going to those Black and Latino rooms, I had to learn how to make my tastes funny in those rooms, like where I was coming from artistically, like.
Okay.
And then when I was going to like more maybe alternative rooms, I had to make where I was coming from funny.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It worked vice versa.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it was, yeah. I mean, for the most part, it was probably a cakewalk because I used to do this. I used to do this open mic. It was a very short-lived open mic in Gardena. You know where Gardena is, right? In Gardena, and it was at a strip club.
Oh
It
wow.
was at a black strip club, and they used to do it at like 5 or 6 before like it would get packed, and they would run like an hour open mic, and it was really just the strippers making fun of you. Like, or sometimes they would just,
What, you ran the mic?
No, I didn't
Oh,
run it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I just went to it.
You just went to it. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, I just went to it. Yeah.
Wow.
So like, I mean, yeah, probably the alternative rooms weren't easier, but they weren't as confrontational.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like a passive aggression.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a little more passive
Just
aggressive.
be normal aggressive. That'd be nice.
Yeah, yeah. Just be normal aggressive. Or I don't know, or a middle ground, because normal aggressive can be pretty annoying too.
Yeah. That's true. I stopped going to one of the mics that every time I was there, people would be getting in fights with the comics from the stage.
Oh man.
And I was like, I'm done coming here. I don't.
Yeah.
This was fun. Now it's just like
Oh yeah. Fuck
weird
that.
energy each time.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need that
So-
shit. So yeah, those were those rooms, and then yeah. By the time I went to like more like alt or like kind of mainstream rooms on like the west side or bar shows or bar open mics in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
they were easier. But I'm not easier, but they were different.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the atmosphere was a little more chill.
So did you start with anyone that's still doing stand-up that you see, like from the first like rooms you went to?
No, not from the very first rooms
No.
I went to. Oh,
Okay.
well, there is one guy. I didn't know him. I didn't start with him.
Oh, okay.
There was this room in like it's like going towards Compton in this neighborhood. I guess the neighborhood's called like Willowbrook, or yeah, it's like Compton. It's it was called the family room, and the guy who it was an open mic, and I went to it a few times. There's a really funny guy named Teddy Ray.
Oh yeah, I know Teddy.
Yeah, you know that guy. He's from like really funny. He's been on like Comedy Central, and he did a lot of things with like Deaf Digital or All Deaf Digital or something like that.
Yeah.
He's like really funny guy. He's an LA comic. He's like from Mid City, I think,
Yeah.
and he used to host that room.
Oh really?
Yeah, he used to host that room. But we weren't friends, and he
didn't
didn't
know
know
him.
me. He was just a guy that I was like, damn, this dude's like,
So funny.
he's so funny.
Yeah.
So that's like one person and then I think there's another comic that I would occasionally see in those rooms, not all the time, but I remember going to the family room and seeing Jamar Neighbors, who's like a comedian at the Comedy Store, and
Yeah.
he's a really funny guy. I remember seeing that guy, but other than that, I was kind of rolling by myself in those rooms. I didn't really know too many people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What is some advice for people who want to start doing comedy now? Would you recommend that they do all kinds of rooms, or like pick one room and like get used to it, or is there any?
I mean, for my limited experience, because I don't like I consider myself like a baby comic, but from my limited experience, I would just say, yeah, just go to all kinds of rooms and then write and listen to your sets, and like have jokes or whatever. Like, don't try to figure it out on stage unless you're that kind of funny.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Listen to your sets. And
What about this? You mentioned earlier, like people who weren't aware of what they look like. Is there something?
or not
like,
what they look like,
or not what
but,
they, but like
unself-aware sometimes.
unself-aware. Because even with myself, I can remember doing specific jokes. Maybe it was like about sex or
Yeah.
probably sex, where I would say jokes about it, and it's like people don't want to hear that coming from me.
Yeah.
Or there's like a weird
Yeah.
like disparity between the two. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of funny because sometimes I remember one time seeing this really young comic like do sex jokes at an open mic or at a show, I think, and man, he was so nervous saying these jokes,
Yeah.
and every time he would do them, he would get really nervous. And in my mind, I'm like, it was funny because I go, you're saying sex jokes like a virgin. Like, it's just like you sound like a virgin while you're saying these jokes, like either get more comfortable with the idea of talking about sex
Or like lean into this virgin thing.
yeah, or lean into this or lean into the fact that you sound like a virgin when you talk about sex.
Yeah.
Or that you're inexperienced, because he came off like a very inexperienced guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he was joking about sex like he was experienced. And I go, it's actually really funnier if you talked about being inexperienced. Because you're talking about it. You're like, he was doing a joke about the difference between fucking and making love, and he sounded so fucking nervous about it. And I remember just being like, I don't think you know the difference. Like, I was just like, damn, you should make a joke about that you don't know the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Instead of telling us what the difference is, because you don't sound like you know what the difference is. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like by
Have there been people that have done that for you?
Who have told me to be more self-aware?
Yeah, or just like any like specific. I mean, maybe it's like after a set that didn't go well, or like, is there any maybe moment that stands out where it's like, oh man, I have to really adjust for what I've been doing, or any moments that stand?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I don't know that anybody came up to me, but I think probably just because I'm pretty critical, I would go and I listen to stuff like my mics, my sets or whatever from shows or open mics. Sometimes I go, oh, I sound like an idiot talking about that, or it's really funny because sometimes I remember one time watching this. I remember one time watching someone talk about the relationship between black and white people, and he was neither.
Okay.
So I just thought, why are you talking about that? You're neither. Talk about your relationship to either group.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know that's your.
No, I get it.
Yeah. Or talk about your dynamic, or where do you fit into that?
Where do you fit into that?
To that,
I mean, what I wanted to add, like, I feel like I was listening to your bit about why you couldn't get into a gang.
Oh yeah,
and you're like, I did the research about
the
like life expectancy
of gang members, and then life expectancy of like punk ass bitches.
And the word I'm like, man, if he wrote a book, Diary of a Punk Ass Bitch.
I know, huh?
It's like, I really want to pitch that to him.
It makes me laugh because sometimes I do that joke, and then somebody will come up to me, and then they get it wrong and be like, oh, hey, there goes that pussy ass bitch.
You're like, no, it's punk.
Yeah. But you know what's so funny? I don't feel any better saying, oh, it's actually punk ass bitch.
Because you're like, potato,
like
whatever sticks in their head.
Well, it's funny too, because at that point I'm just like, I'm not being self-deprecating for the fact of like that I'm on stage. I'm just like, I'm actually like genuinely telling them, oh, I'm actually not saying I'm a pussy ass bitch. I'm saying I'm a punk ass bitch. You know what I mean? It's like, out of the context of like joke telling or whatever. I'm just correcting someone about what kind of coward I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Like,
but
I can't really save face on it either way.
Yes. That's really
it's
funny.
Actually punk. I'm not a pussy.
Yeah, sometimes I remember this like big tatted up Latino dude came up to me after a show, and he was like, oh, hey, there goes fucking pussy ass bitch. Damn, dude, you made me laugh, and fucking pussy ass bitch. He just kept going, and I just felt like, Oh, this is so embarrassing, dude.
Like, hey, come take a picture with this pussy ass bitch.
Yeah, no, that's happened. It's happened. It's
Like,
so like, oh, jeez, I got it right.
why do I put myself in that position?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you how your trip was to DC, right?
Oh,
You went last week?
Yeah, I went this weekend that passed. I was there Friday and Saturday. It was cool. I was headlining. It was my first time officially headlining a weekend.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really cool. It was a challenge. I mean, I don't want to I want to be honest about it. I mean, so I did 4 shows, 2 Friday and 2 Saturday, and I was supposed to do 50 minutes at every show, and I did do 50 minutes at every show. But one show there was nobody. I did 50 minutes to 7 people. It was so.
What night was that?
Friday first show.
Friday. Because
Yeah.
my cousin lives in DC and he went and saw you.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh God, I hope he didn't go to the first show.
I think he went to the Saturday show.
Oh, okay. Did he go to Saturday's second show?
I'm not sure which one they went to Saturday, but
Yeah.
yeah. So how does it? I mean, you're obviously like hoping for it to be full and like
Oh yeah,
a good
that was.
show.
That,
What do you do? I mean, how do you
Well,
change your?
I what helped was I kept acknowledging that it was only 7 of them.
Okay.
Like, I kept acknowledging that it was just 7. Like, I opened up when I went up there, and I said, I had to acknowledge right away that it was 7 of them. So I just joked around. I riffed that, like, for most important moments in history, there was only a few people there. So, so I said, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, there wasn't that many people. There's probably like 10 people there.
Yeah.
I go, you guys are 7. It's kind of like that, Or I said, when the Beatles first played, I heard there was only like 8 people there. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Just going into that.
Yeah, just going into that. And then at one point, I stopped using the mic. Because I said, you know what, guys, I feel stupid using the mic. I think if I stop using it, you could still hear me. I go, it's only 7 of you here. And then so I stopped using the mic. And then I just started acknowledging that it feels like a TED Talk because I'm using my hands like a TED Talk. And then after, I think once I just joked about like that I said, don't worry guys, I'm almost done. And then I just joked about like, some of you might be thinking, how much more can you do? It's only 7 of us. Don't you think we've had enough? And then I just kept going, like, then I just finished the set. Then I acknowledged by saying that, like, give it up for me, because nowhere at any point did I say, there's 7 people here, maybe I should do less time. And then, like, they found that funny, So even though it was 7 people, it could have gone way worse.
I mean,
like nobody left.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they would have been embarrassed to leave because it was. I could see them leave because it's so few numbers. But like, nobody heckled. They were all attentive. They were all. But then every show after that had like anywhere from 40 to 50 people there.
Okay.
So it's not a big room. It fits. The room itself fit 130. So, and every other show had like maybe 50 people there. So that was almost like half,
Yeah.
Or less than half, but not a small number.
And how did you prepare for that headlining set?
Man, I wrote out a set. I knew what my opening jokes were. I knew what my middle chunk was, and I knew what my closers were. Like, I literally thought, I opened up the set by just talking about, like, I realized I don't think I should just go into material right away. So I just opened up with riffing about DC.
Okay.
Like what observations I had or my personal history with Washington, D.C. Because I went there, the first time I went there was when I was 15 for a high school field trip. And this was my first time as an adult.
Okay.
Going back there as an adult. So I just made jokes about that. Like, literally, I just making jokes about how, like, when... I joked about how, like, when I was in high school, a teacher took us there, and she was kind of racist. She used to tell us, like, she would get mad at us anytime we acted up during the trip. And she said, some of you guys should be grateful that I brought you here. Most of you are going to end up pregnant or in prison. And I just joked about, like, I go, I'm proud to say I've never been to prison, but I did get pregnant my senior year, So, like, I was just joking about like whatever personal history I had with DC.
Yeah.
Or they have a lot of Salvadorans in DC. So I joked about how like I go, in LA we have Mexicans, in Washington DC you're Mexicans are Salvadorans, and in Canada they're Mexicans are Americans. Just people trying to look for a better life for their children. And like, so I was just riffing about like DC. So I did that, and then I went into my material, and I knew what my first jokes were. I mean, I knew what my whole set was, but I try to keep it loose.
Yeah.
Like in between, I would riff segues into jokes and shit like that. So yeah.
Cool.
And then I knew what my closers was and everything. Yeah. So I mean, it was pretty planned out. It was all planned out, but I tried to be loose about it.
Cool.
Yeah. So I didn't sound like a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just going through it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I wanted to talk to you about kind of two more things. One,
Yeah.
the last question, but I look at comments on YouTube almost more than I watch the videos.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
now
I sometimes do that too. I looked at all my comments.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about like what sort of comments that your comedy clips have gotten since they're on it's on bigger.
Oh yeah. Well, you know
channels
what's
now.
really funny? It's night and day, because on my first clip from Hot Tub,
Mm-hmm.
all the comments are very like positive. Like they're all really nice. Like people are like, "Oh, this is really funny. Put up more stand-up videos or whatever." And all my comments on my Comedy Central shit, not all of them, but not all of them are positive. Like there's a lot of trolls on there.
Yeah.
Like talking shit. There's people going, I'm not funny, saying I should quit, making fun of the way I talk or the way I look. Like there's just trolls on there,
Yeah.
I don't fucking care though. I mean, some of it made me laugh. I mean, one guy said, one guy wrote, this guy is either 25 or 56. I don't know.
Stupid.
That made me laugh. And then somebody else wrote, if you slow down the speed of the video, this shit slaps. Like, and then there was people who like were like, this guy's so fucking unfunny. I don't know why the fuck he's doing stand up. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't care. I mean, I don't lose any sleep over it.
Yeah, I had one person comment on a video that I posted. They're like, "This is so unfunny." And they even commented like on the quality of the video too.
Yeah.
And
Losers. Why would you do that? You're
I just
a loser.
was like, "All right, man." Like, and the joke was about Jimmy John's, and I was like, "Did Jersey Mike send you here?"
That's funny.
And
Did you comment back on that?
Yeah, I commented back on it, and then I screenshot it and I posted again, and he never responded. And I was like, it doesn't really matter. Like what?
Yeah.
And it's
No.
also question the source. I go to their page,
Yeah.
and there's like, it's private. They have no followers. I'm like, this is just, I don't even know what this person is.
They're just a troll, I one time joked about it. I one time joked that a troll like commented on my shit and said that I sucked or whatever. And then, well, what's funny is sometimes I feel bad. I give them more credit than I'm supposed to, because they go, well, are they a troll just because they don't like me? They're entitled not to like me.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care,
Or they're just trolling for trolling's sake.
Or they're just trolling for trolling's sake. But somebody commented like some just fucked up shit. This guy's fucking unfunny, the fucking loser, all this kind of troll shit, And then I clicked on their page, and then I saw, and then I was like, oh, just curious, And then I saw that they live in like a small town. They're like a manager at a KFC or a Taco Bell or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just thought, I go, fuck that loser. He has nothing going on in their lives. And then I realized, like, oh, wait a minute. I started feeling sad, because I go, that person probably has health insurance, and I don't. And then I just thought, that's the circle of YouTube comments,
Right?
You can't look into it too much.
You also can't, you got to be careful what you say, because people can literally search you.
Oh, I know people can look you up. Like, what's so funny? I fucking told my sister this shit. When they put up my Comedy Central clip on Instagram, there's some people like talking shit or saying this guy's not funny or whatever, and my sister went in the comments and started talking shit to people. And I said, don't do that. Like, why would you do that? You're a loser too.
Yeah.
I go, don't do that. And then I go, and it made me laugh because you don't make me sound cool because you were just like, fuck you, that's my brother.
Yeah.
He worked really hard on this. Isn't that hilarious? She was just like, fuck you, bitch. That's my fucking brother. What have you done with your fucking life? He sacrificed and worked really hard on this shit. And I went, oh, God, you sound like my fucking mom. Like, you sound like a loving older sister. I go, you're not helping me. And like, I just told her, I go, don't do that because these people have a lot of time on their hands. And they might go to your page. They might friend request. They might put stuff on your page. It's just, what do you do? Who cares? Don't do that. But it make me laugh. She was like, fuck
Is that
you.
comment still on there? I got to see
No,
that.
I told her to erase it.
Oh.
I said, hey, can you take that down? I told her I wasn't an asshole. I was like,
I think for the best.
Thanks for sticking up for me, but also don't stick up for me. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And then I go, you sound really biased too because you're like, that's my fucking brother. Fuck you, bitch.
Also, like, that, if she's all about that, like, that's never going to stop.
Oh, yeah. Don't ever stop.
Like,
yeah. So
it's just out there.
But that's okay. Whatever. I mean, I don't think it's okay. I personally don't do it. Like, if I see something I don't like, I just don't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't comment either, but some people do. I don't know. I think they have too much time on their hands. Me personally, I don't do that kind of shit, but
yeah,
whatever.
I remember I was really upset over something on Facebook, and I talked to my uncle about it, and he's like, why do you give it?
Yeah, what do you care?
It literally does nothing for you. Why does it matter? Like, worry about this.
Yeah, there's other shit to worry about. Yeah.
So, last question for you, Chris.
Hit me
I like to do this one. It's called Life Billboard.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a billboard on Sunset in La Cienega,
yeah,
it could say anything on there. It could be an image, could be a quote, it could be literally anything.
Yeah.
What would your message be?
It would be my picture, and then in quote it would say "pussy ass bitch." Yes. And me looking disappointed that it's actually not. And then in the bottom, a quote saying "it's actually." well, actually, yeah. Not even finished. Just actually. ...
That's amazing.
Yeah,
thank you so much for doing it. You've answered all my questions.
Yeah. You got it.
And where can people find you? Is your name just on all your social?
Oh, yeah. Like on Instagram, I'm Chris Estrada Comic.
Okay.
And then on Twitter, I'm Chris Estrada 85.
Okay.
Yeah.